My story starts in 2004. I was living at home. I was 2 years out of high school. I was at home one day and really had anxiety, a lot of anxiety, and I felt really alone. Because of my anxiety, I kept going through the house trying to find out where people were, calling people, couldn't get an answer. Eventually I went downstairs and I took a saw and plugged it in and was ready to cut off my leg. My brother ran inside and pulled the extension cord out of the wall. Ambulance came, they took me to the hospital, brought me into the ER, was strapped down on a gurney. 4 security guards came in and a doctor, and they proceeded to give me a tranquilizer. I woke up 4 days later, and that was my first experience with being diagnosed with mental illness. I remember very distinctively telling the doctor, well, I wasn't trying to kill myself, I was just trying to get rid of the pain. You're so emotionally torn that you'll do anything to get rid of that feeling.
It first started when I was using different types of drugs, and I decided to be homeless, and I had a breakdown in the middle of the night, and they sent me to St. Francis. I was admitted into the psychiatric ward, and I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1. After the psychiatric ward, I went to a rehab and then back home, and then the process started all over again, because I didn't accept the fact that I had a mental illness. Somebody came up to me, and they asked me, they're like, well, you know, what's going on? Like, I'm like, oh, well, you know, I found out I got diagnosed bipolar, this, that, they're like, you have bipolar? Like, I can't hang out with you anymore because, you know, your craziness is going to wear off on me. And I said, who's not crazy? What's normal? It angers me because I think that people need to be more knowledgeable about mental illnesses instead of just hearing it and stereotyping it.
Part of my mental illness is I hear voices. I see things that to me are real. And sometimes those voices come with orders, missions, demands. In my mind, there's been times where I feel like the only way the voices are going to stop is if I act these things out. When I was first diagnosed and I was unable to work, the stigma was really bad. I lost contacts with a lot of my best friends. A lot of my coworkers abandoned me. Some people didn't even want their kids around my kids just because I have a mental illness. In the beginning, when all my friends abandoned me, I actually turned to drugs and alcohol and started on a road of homelessness off and on, you know, just being all alone in my addictions that I had succumbed to. Then I actually became vengeful, like I wanted to start taking out my anger on them to try to ease my pain. I have 4 family members who have committed suicide. My attempt was in May of 2012. I felt that the house I was living in was telling me I could not return home until I hung myself. I felt like I had nothing left in me to fight. I hung neckties from a wooden beam and I proceeded to hang myself. I then kicked the chair out from under me and hung there for a couple minutes. It was then I felt a bang on the back of my head. What had happened was that old beam broke and I actually hit my head on the stove and was laying on the floor with this beam hanging over me with the neckties still around my neck. I was able to get to my cell phone and I called 911. The city of Poughkeepsie police kicked in the door and by the grace of God I was saved that day. I felt deserted and it led me down a path of self-destruction. It had me out there all by myself. I felt like I was all alone. I had no friends once I was diagnosed, and it wasn't until I came in contact with programs like MHA, I realized I do have friends.
Too often, people with mental illness find themselves alone, abandoned by their families, and trying to navigate this difficult world by themselves, and with the unfortunate limitations that come with not being able to communicate really well with other individuals effectively and advocate for themselves. MHA of Dutchess County employs over 120 people. Every one of these individuals is dedicated and cares so much not only about the people they serve, but about the community in general. Our living room program, located at 29 North Hamilton Street in Poughkeepsie, New York, at the Family Partnership Building, is a safe haven for people that have no place to go during the day because they're homeless. They can take showers, they can do laundry, and they can actively search for housing and job opportunities on the internet that's available to them. Many of our community services that we offer at MHA work hand in hand with each other. For instance, in the living room program, we have many of our care managers in and out of that location working closely with the individuals that are homeless in the community, assuring that they're linked to their primary care physicians, that they are able to find food, and working closely with them to find housing.
I found out about MHA through an outpatient rehab that I was in, and they referred me to there, and I've had one ever since. I went to a continuing treatment center, and I also got case management through MHA. They help find housing, they help get you into your doctor's appointment, they help set up making a phone call. If you need to make a phone call, they will be there to help you make a phone call down to day-to-day activities.
In our PROS program in Beacon, New York, we use a psychoeducational approach to assuring that individuals with serious and persistent mental illness are able to learn skills necessary to live independently in the community.
When I first went to the MHA PROS program in Beacon, they actually created classes based on my illness. So I would take a bipolar class, I would take a dialectical behavioral therapy class, I would take a depression class. And I had never been in a program like that where it was so catered to my needs versus just a general output of information. I wouldn't be where I am now without them.
The staff at PROS are an incredible group of individuals. They work very closely with people that have very serious conditions, and they help them realize that they are just like everybody else, that they should be respected and cared for, and that they shouldn't be abandoned, and that they have a life to live.
There should be no stigma. It's life. My question is always, do they have stigmas on people who have cancer or Alzheimer's disease or whatever? It's basically you still need treatment. And just like people with mental illness need a treatment too.
I think there's a fear when people use the term mental illness. I think there's always been that stigma. But through all the education and all the different agencies like MHA, I think that we've come out of the dark. We've been brought to the light, and I think today we do have a voice. And MHA has definitely been a program that has walked me through a lot of the difficult situations that I've been in.
There are always going to be people that have negative opinions about it. There are people that are just going to be misinformed about it. But the reality is, when you live with the illness, you know it better than anybody else. What I've come to grasp is that if people aren't going to help me with my recovery, it's not that I don't need them in my life, but I'm not going to use them as a resource for my recovery. Because I have the support group or the support system that I need now, I know that anything is possible, that if I want to achieve anything in life from here on out, that I have the basis to be able to do that. And I didn't have that foundation before knowing about MHA.
You can help MHA in so many different ways. You can become a Compeer volunteer, you can become a CASA volunteer, you can attend our community events, and you can go to fundraisers that support this agency. Any money we raise at this agency goes directly back to the clients that we serve. And they need that, and we need that. So thank you for your support.